joined today by Mr. Raymond Cassar, one of the Detroit area's premier criminal defense attorneys. Mr. Cassar, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Mr. Cassar, in these difficult times of economy, many people have trouble finding employment. But for people with a past criminal record, finding employment can probably seem impossible. I've heard that there's something in Michigan called an expungement that allows people to clean up their criminal record. Is this true?
That's correct. The Michigan State Legislature has enacted a statute that allows people that have been convicted of a crime, if they wait a period of 5 years and they've had no other offenses, no other misdemeanor offenses or felony offenses, they can petition the court to have their felony record expunged. Now, there's some rules and regulations regarding that. Basically, it only involves the expungement of one felony charge, and you cannot have anything else on your record at that time.
So, can anyone who is convicted of a crime get their criminal record expunged?
Only if they, again, wait the statutory 5-year period and they can demonstrate to the court that they've only been convicted once of one charge once in their entire life. At this point in time, those are the recommendations, those are the requirements. The legislature is thinking about passing a new statute, but that's still in the works and a long way off.
Okay, so a person has to wait 5 years before they're eligible for expungement. Can you explain when the 5 years begins to run?
That 5-year period would start automatically upon the sentencing date. So if they're sentenced May of 2011, then they would have to wait a period of 5 years to May of 2016 before they can apply to the court to have that record expunged.
So are there forms people can get to put this expungement into action, or does the paperwork need to be drawn up by a lawyer like yourself?
There are forms that a person can attempt to get online. The problem with it is it's a difficult situation. It is not a simple task where you're simply filing a form with the court and the court hears it. You're actually you're filing a motion to set aside your previous conviction. It's a motion telling the court, listen, I've complied with all the requirements. It's been 5 years. I haven't been convicted of anything else. I've only have one thing on my record. Plus, you have to demonstrate a need to the court. So it makes more sense to hire a good law firm or a good attorney to aid you and help you in the expungement process.
So it sounds like getting an expungement is somewhat complicated. Can you briefly outline the process for our viewers?
Well, the first thing that the client would do is they would come into our office. We would do a record background check. We want to make sure that we're not going to waste his time or his money. We want to find out that he's going to be eligible to do this. If he's not going to be eligible, it doesn't make sense in throwing a whole lot of money into the process. Once we get the record back, and the record is not an expensive procedure, once we get that and we realize that this person is eligible to apply for an expungement, then we would proceed with a fingerprint request form. We have to do 5 of those. We would then file a motion with the circuit court in front of the judge that sentenced that individual to ask the court for consideration of the expungement.
So once all of these steps have been completed, is an expungement automatically granted, or is it up to the judge to decide?
It's a great question. It is a discretionary decision on behalf of the judge. You'll have to understand that the prosecution, or in this case the Attorney General's office, generally opposes expungements. They don't like them. They want people to have these records. They want these records to stay as a permanent fixture to their background so that they know in the future this person's been convicted of a crime. So generally they oppose them. What we have to do is show the court through a need of advancement of employment, for teaching requirements, because they want to do different things with their lives, that there is a need and a social desirability to grant an expungement in this case. If we can convince the judge of that, it is within his discretion, he can grant it.
So it sounds like the best way for someone to clean up their criminal record is to discuss their situation with an experienced attorney like you. Is there anything important that we've missed and that you'd like to say to our Michigan viewers who are considering getting an expungement?
Again, I think it's something that in this economy right now, it's important to have a clean record. If you are applying for a job and it's between you and another individual with something on his record, let's face it, that person is the person with the record is going to be frowned upon. It's much better to go into an application process and say, listen, I've never been convicted of a crime, and that's exactly what setting aside a conviction does. It allows you the ability to say, I've never been convicted of a crime before, which gives you a leg up on all the other job applicants.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Raymond Cassar.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.